The Pacers draft is done. They actually made 3 picks. They got a guy that some people mocked in the first round. They got 2 guys that make a ton of sense on 2 ways. They made a trade up, kinda. We have a lot to talk about. Johnny Furphy, Tristen Newton, Enrique Freeman. Today's Locked On Pacers covers it all. Let's get right to it.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Friday. Congrats, you made it through the week, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today we are diving into round 2 of the draft. The Pacers did make 3 picks. I thought they might make less than 3 picks. They made 3 picks. They did a lot of stuff that makes sense. Again, they had very few losing scenarios. They did not hit any of them. They found a good balance of long-term development and a guy that a lot of teams liked and some guys that make sense on 2 ways that are very interesting. A very Pacers-y draft. They traded up for the first time in a bit. Since 2021, I believe, was the last time they traded up to get their guy, who talked about this being a possibility for him. A green room invitee makes it to the 36th pick. Fascinating night for the Pacers. We'll break down the trade, the guys they end up with, the night in general, where the Pacers are now, and what's next. And we have plenty more to come with free agency coming on Sunday. The Pacers end draft night with Johnny Furphy at pick 35. He went to Kansas. Tristen Newton from UConn at pick 49. 2-time national champion. And Enrique Freeman, whose stats made my computer explode, from Akron at pick 50. Fascinating night for the Pacers. And stuff that makes a lot of sense, big picture, which we'll get to more later. Let's start with Furphy and how this night kind of began for the Pacers. You enter night 2, and this is why I thought it was important yesterday to talk about the top 6 or so guys left. And I mentioned Furphy because he, along with Kyle Filipowski, were the 2 green room invitees that did not get picked in the first day, right? They were, so I'm not certain how this works. I believe this is how it works with the W and the NBA, is that teams kind of submit a rough list of their top pick number level of guys in the draft, and the league makes their green room based on that. And so the expectation is that those are the top whatever guys in the draft, right? They want the guys getting picked to be there. And so that means teams in the league valued Furphy and, to a lesser extent, Filipowski, actually, I guess greater extent because he went 32, in the top 24 or 25. And the Pacers got Furphy at 35. So that alone is a starting point of, like, if you want to talk about value, I don't know how good he is. I'll get to that in a second. But if you want to talk about value, or like think like the perception of a player, if you have to immediately retrade them or think about what their long-term value is, that's a good thing, right? Hey, that's good. Some teams, lots of teams, had a different perception of him than where he ended up going. And the Pacers were fortunate, I think, that they were able to get him at 35. Now, let me stress, they got him at 35. Very interesting wrinkle to the start of the Pacers draft. Their first pick was going to be 36. The Spurs were picking at 35. Spurs are on the clock. We get the notification from Shams that the Indiana Pacers are picking at 35, and they've picked Johnny Furphy. So check around. It's a trade. So the Pacers traded 36 and cash considerations just to move up to 35. So stopping right there, people had a lot of questions about the mechanics of this. The cash considerations has no bearing on cap space, on the tax, any of that. We'll get to where it does have some sort of impacts, but you'll get there. We'll see. So when this trade matters is important, because if it matters in this league year, then the Pacers are not hard capped at the 2nd April next year. That doesn't really matter. So the trade is because this is my assumption. I don't know this, but my assumption would be, and Furphy kind of confirmed this, right? He went on ESPN Australia with Kane Pittman and was talking about his draft night and basically said it like this, right? He said, and I love this, the Australian version of it. He said, a few teams were keen to move up and possibly get him. I loved that. And so if you get to 35 and the Spurs are up and there are more than one team who are going to want to get Furphy and the Spurs are going to trade the pick, then you have to get that exact pick if you're the Pacers to get the guy. And so if it's only one spot, 36 has a lot of value. So cash plus 36 gets you 35 and gets you the guy you want who might not have been there one pick later. That's good. Cash considerations in a trade, for those who don't know, it resets every single league year. Another reason to assume that this trade will be completed before July 1st is that if it is, and the cash goes out before 7/1, it resets and you can reset the amount of cash you can send out once again on July 1st. So there is zero long-term implication, assuming that that is the case of how this trade is structured. There's no cap reason why it can't happen. So in all, no long-term assets lost for the Pacers to move up and get a guy that other teams wanted and that they wanted. I guess that counts as trading up, but a fascinating little micro trade to go up and get Johnny Furphy from Kansas. I will do a stat breakdown of him in just a second. Thankfully, Locked On is a network. We have all the hosts in the college world as well. Last year, we talked with Locked On Kansas about Grady Dick, so you might have heard this voice before, but we have a 1-minute clip we can play about Johnny Furphy right here. So here's what we got.
Johnny Furphy from Kansas is a player perfectly suited for the NBA. I'm Derek Johnson from Locked On Jayhawks. He's a 6'8" wing who at 19 years old was a soaring late riser, went from nearly being in a future high school recruiting class to reclassifying to showing flashes off the bench to then starting in January to then from January through February going off with 12 points per game on 38% from three. Now it was a mixed bag over his final 13 games, just 28% from three there. And when Kansas became more relied on him with a more injured team, you saw some deficiencies in the half court, creating his own shots and consistency, as well as on the defensive end, though there was always a high level of want to and high effort level on that end. But overall, the shooting and transition play make you think he's going to be a good fit for the NBA. For more on Furphy and all things Kansas Jayhawks, follow and subscribe to Locked On Jayhawks on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
First of all, agree with Derek. Subscribe. Other Kansas guys got picked in this draft. Second of all, good scouting report. And a good place to start is something he said that really jumps off the page. Again, I did not watch Johnny Furphy play at all. I watched Kansas play IU, obviously, this year. That's it, right? I've watched some guys. None of the guys I really dove into the Pacers picked. So I'm going to be relying on other people in stats a lot to break down the Pacers draft for you guys. And then I will dive into them later in more detail, as we do every year. But I go to Synergy, right? Let's search for Johnny Furphy and just see what pops off the page to me. Well, the first thing that explodes in your face, if you're coming in from a Pacers perspective, is Johnny Furphy had two play types at Kansas that he executed more than 10% of the time. That was spot ups, and he was in the 98th percentile of college players on spot ups. If you're the Pacers, that's awesome. Good shooting in those situations, right? 1.33 points per possession in those moments. On spot up threes in college, he shot 42.9%. That's awesome, right? The Pacers will take that every time. 36 for 84. They're a shooting team. They want that on there. The second thing is transition. That's his only other play type above 10% of his plays. 84th percentile, ranked excellent as well. 1.29 points per possession in transition. We can and will talk about his deficiencies, but if you want the highlight reason of why the Pacers ID'd the young guy who they didn't think maybe could be there, traded up to get him, it's because maybe he's a project, maybe he's never anything, maybe his defense never amounts to much, but the stuff the Pacers would want, they talked about adding to what they have. Ryan Carr said it, right? That's what Johnny Furphy is. He fits the Pacers and how they play very well and is the right size to be a guy who's additive to what they are. So I think that makes a ton of sense from a statistical profile perspective. The wingspan and height are about the same, which is something that I don't think it's a negative wingspan. I think it's about the same. He's 6'8" and 3/4, so pretty tall. I'll be fascinated to see how that kind of shakes out as a part of his game. But the defense is where the question marks come. When I was talking to Ben Pfeiffer on his live show, because I wanted his opinion, he actually watches all these guys all the time. He said he thinks his team defense is pretty good, but his individual defense certainly needs some work. You can see that in the numbers as well if you just flip the play types from offense to defense. Below average against handoffs, average against isolations, poor against guys off screens, right? The only thing he did very well defending was pick and roll ball handlers, which is good in the NBA, but he's got a lot of work to do on the defensive end, which the Pacers need to add defense, and they didn't. But they also talked at their post-draft press conference, Chad Buchanan was up there, that this is more of like, maybe not long-term is not the perfect term, but, certainly not an instant this guy's going to be there, right? He said, we feel like we're willing to be more patient. with a young player like Johnny. So they don't need him to be a defensive guy right away. Certainly they're going to need that skill to develop, but from a skill perspective, he fits the way they're trying to play. From a general, what's this guy worth perspective, he is worth probably more than you expected from the 36th, 35th pick in this draft. And so there is a good chance to develop this guy into something more. And there's a chance he can't ever guard and they need him to make threes to be a positive player. If that's the case, we'll see. I don't know. I need to watch him to give you guys more information. But with what I know right now from diving into the stats, from listening to people talk about him, Johnny Furphy makes a lot of sense to me for the Pacers. And if you heard me talk to Eddie or any of the draft people we've done shows on, the problem the Pacers had, and they kind of alluded to this too, is they can't really offer minutes, right? And so a long-term project guy does make sense. They didn't have a ton of chances to like talk to Furphy in this process because, you know, if you're Furphy's group, you probably think, oh, we're going higher than 36. We don't need to deal with the Pacers. But now they'll work with him. They'll make him the best player they can. And if he can turn into anything on defense, this might be a player. He's going to fit pretty well from a stylistic perspective. Looking forward to that. And there's still so much more draft to talk about. Check out Locked On Jayhawks, Locked On NBA Big Board. Lots of places to get more on Furphy. And again, later into June, July, we'll do what we did last year. If you remember, we did full segments on each Pacers new guy on the team this year. Maybe I'll make them full shows. We'll see. I think Furphy's interesting at a glance, but again, have not watched a full game yet. But a fascinating start to the draft from the Pacers, who trade up and now have Johnny Furphy. Let's move to segment 2, talking more about their later picks, the Pacers draft situation in general, what comes next and all that. Before we get to any of that, though, we've got to talk about Gametime. Gametime, an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and in general, an app and a place that makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and tickets to other things, right? You can pick the games and matchups you want to attend, hop right in, see deals for that game. The experience is fantastic. I've used it before. I love the views from your seat feature, so you can tell what you're going to get. I love that the price is an all-in price, so there's no surprises at the end. I love the low price guarantee, and I know they mean it because they'll offer you a credit of 110% of the price difference if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. They have tickets right up to the moment the event starts. Your purchases are covered by a flexible customer service policy. It's perfect. It's the best place to buy tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, man, oh man, there's a lot of interesting teams from night 2 of the draft. I think the Raptors had a really good night. They made an interesting trade with the Kings. So Locked On Raptors could be your second listen. They also made a pick last night with the Pacers first rounder, part of the Siakam trade. So Sean Woodley, Locked On Raptors, should be your second listen. Pacers draft did not stop at 35/36. They traded up with that one. They stayed solid with their other 2. Did not pick any stash guys. Did not trade them away. They did not make any future value plays. They went for the present value plays, which I get. At 49, Tristen Newton. Many of you probably know him if you watch the NCAA tournament at all. A winner, 2-time national champion at UConn. Chad Buchanan on the days after the draft, talking about his calmness, his IQ as a floor general, as a lead ball handler. That's, of course, appealing. Transferred from East Carolina to UConn, and then immediately just won 2 titles. So 4 guys from that program end up getting picked, and he was, a key figure, a key part of that. Excuse me. So I'm trying to pull up his stats while I'm talking. I should have been a little more prepared there, but I do have a synergy page up. But he worked out for the Pacers on the 18th. Impressive player, taller guard, which I personally like, 6'5-ish, 6'4-ish, right? And led that UConn team with assists. Was a good rebounder for a guard. Checks a lot of boxes the Pacers would theoretically want, but not the best shooter, right? Good at a lot of non-shooting stuff. If you look back at his play type data from his season with UConn, similar to Furphy in that you can find some stuff that you could see where the Pacers would point to that and go, yes, right? 76th percentile and pick as the pick and roll ball handler. That's very good. Was good with handoffs. For example, was a good cutter, right? A lot of the stuff that falls back to what Buchanan said about being a smart player, and was good in transition. That's going to matter a lot for a lot of the stuff we talk about. 60th percentile in transition with the Pacers. And guess what? we have a Locked On UConn. So you're going to hear more about Tristen Newton from somebody who knows way more about him than I do.
Tristen Newton from the two-time defending champion UConn Huskies. I'm Mark Zanetto from Locked On UConn. Tristen, a 6'5", 190-pound, big, versatile combo guard with smooth playmaking skills, excellent size for a lead guard, averaged 17 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds, leading UConn to back-to-back. Tristen's current comps in the NBA for me are Connecticut native Chris Dunn or Jalen Suggs, both below-the-rim playmakers who you don't lose much, if anything, on defense when he becomes your backup lead guard. I believe if drafted by the right team, Tristen can be an impactful player as a rookie, leading a second unit for a playoff team. For more on Tristen Newton and all things UConn, follow and subscribe to Locked On UConn on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Good breakdown there. I like the notion of his defense too, right? Could be a very pesky guard at that size and certainly grades out well defensively. Again, looking just at play type data. I have watched him play, but only in the national championship game, but was good defending pick and roll ball handlers, was amazing defending isolations, right? 6'5" as a point guard is certainly very interesting to me. I'll be fascinated to see what his season kind of shakes out to be. He's 23, right? He's much on the older side for sure, which again, this is kind of what the interesting part of the Pacers draft was. Do they go for any experience? Do they try to put experienced guys on two ways, which is unusual, but potentially something they could do? What do they see from this? Some bonus break glass in case of emergency point guard depth is never the worst thing. You don't expect to need it, but if you do, you'd rather have somebody you trust. And Tristen Newton would be somebody that you trust. Again, Buchanan gushing about his actual point guard skills. I'll be fascinated to see what he looks like. And we can talk about what contract he could end up on in just a second, going 49th overall. But, getting guard depth is a good thing. Buchanan did comment on their age. He also commented on the age of their 50th pick, Enrique Freeman. If you haven't heard of this guy, you're going to hear a lot of cool stories about him because his path to where he is now is fascinating. So he's from Ohio and he went to Akron and he played 7 games. Let me double check that. 7 games his freshman season at Akron. He played 13 total minutes. He took 1 shot and he made it that year. I'm pointing out all these stats being extremely low for a reason because Enrique Freeman went to Akron on a scholarship, an academic scholarship. He did not have an athletic scholarship, and he actually had to try out for the team as a walk-on and then got better and then got better and then got better and then got better and then had a COVID year and got better. Like, it's crazy to look back at his stats and just see the very obvious, oh, this got better this year and that got better this year kind of stuff, right? So even just running through it, opportunity certainly helps, but he shoots 74% his second season actually getting minutes. He's a beast on the glass, 9.2 per game in 22 minutes. Awesome, right? Goes into year 3. The scoring gets much better, right? Shoots 67% on much higher volume, almost double, 13 points a game. Big improvement. The next year, the rebounding continues to climb, and the scoring hits 17 points a game on similar efficiency once again. And then the 5th year, here it comes. It's the modern NBA. You're going to need this if you're going to go to the NBA. Let's take some threes. He took 6 total threes his first 4 years at Akron. He took 54 his last season there. So 54 of his 60 came in one season. He made 37% of those. Again, I've never watched him. We'll see it. So we'll see if I buy it watching the tape. That's certainly a small sample size, but hey, you'd rather have a small good sample size than bad one if you're a team picking the guy. But just a fascinating path from not on the team to like, wow, actual NBA prospect. And his stats are insane. So his last year at Akron with the Zips, sick team name, 18.6 points per game, 12.9 boards, 3.6 of those on the offensive end, 1.7 blocks per game, like just crazy per game numbers. You go down to the advanced numbers too. 64% true shooting on 27 usage. Awesome. Turnover rate's acceptable. Great block rate. If I didn't know who this guy was, I would have assumed he was a good player. And the stats certainly bear that out. Again, never watched him play, but certainly looks like somebody that could be fascinating and has an awesome story. A lot of people were tweeting about him and what he could be in the NBA. And I can't wait to see it because I mean, you click on his Tankathon page, and I don't mean this to say Tankathon's like a great scouting service, but what they do well is they compare stats of players very well, and their stat strengths and weaknesses are hilarious. So There's only one stat that is a major weakness for Enrique Freeman on compared to other prospects in this class, and it's his age. His age is the only stat that gets major minuses. His turnovers are tough for his size, but other than that, it's just his age. He is 23. He turns 24 a month and 1 day from now. So late July, he will actually turn 24. He's much older for a prospect, and yet certainly statistically dominant. His stat strengths, the list is so long. It's one of the biggest boxes I've ever seen. Rebounding obviously jumps off the page. True shooting percentage, great. So I don't know what to make of him yet. We'll go through his play type data in just a second, but certainly a lot to like for a 50th pick. And then we'll talk about what comes next for all these guys and the Pacers. Before we get to that stuff, though, let's talk about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you were looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time. You'll get your money back because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. I think I'm contractually obligated, that's a word, to tell you to make your second listen Locked On Lakers, to hear about Bronny James being picked exactly where everybody thought he would pick. And apparently, as Bob Myers said on TV, threatening teams to go play in Australia if they pick him. He got where he wanted. Mission accomplished. I am not going to lie, regardless of what you think of his talent and quality as a player, and the coverage during the draft was a little much. It's so sick that a father-son duo is on the same NBA team. Looking forward to watching that. And I'm looking forward to seeing Enrique Freeman in the NBA because holy smokes is his Synergy page hilarious. So I believe Synergy's ratings are poor, average. No, there's one below that. Poor, below average, average, good, very good, excellent. I might be missing one. That's not good. Anyway, that's their rating grades for your points per possessions. So let's talk about Enrique Freeman's Synergy page. Transition. Transition. Excellent. Overall half court, excellent. Out of bounds on the side, excellent. After timeouts, excellent. Last 4 seconds of shot clock, excellent. Against man, excellent. Against press, excellent. That's very good. You go to his play types, you see a lot of really good stuff there too. Excellent as a pick and roll rollman. Excellent as a cutter. Excellent in transition. Have you noticed a theme? Very good as post-ups. Very good off offensive rebounds. Very good off miscellaneous plays, which can be any number of things. Spot-ups aren't so good, but everything else is awesome. This guy just screams as a guy who's going to just wreck the G League if that's where he ends up. And I think it stands out a lot that the Pacers focused on guys who can play in transition and understand the open floor game, given what their team looks like, and guys who also are kind of specialty skill, good at something else that can also help them not only be a transition player, like Tristen Newton's floor generaling and rebounding for a guard, Enrique Freeman's rebounding from everywhere, and his ability to kind of do other stuff. I think all these guys they drafted are good cutters when they are off the ball too. So I'll be fascinated to see what they actually look like in the league, but Enrique Freeman's Synergy page is comical, especially in the offensive end. His defensive numbers are pretty good too. So I don't know what this guy's going to look like. He's about to turn 24, so he's one of the older prospects in this draft, but certainly a lot to like statistically, and there's a reason the Pacers picked him. It reminds me a little bit of when they scooped up Terry Taylor undrafted, and I went to his basketball reference page and was like, oh my God, who is this guy, right? He was like a double-double machine at Austin P and all this stuff, and then turns out the rebounding translated immediately, and he was an NBA-level player. And I don't know if Enrique Freeman's going to be like that, but that's what this process reminded me of figuring out who the guy is, looking at his stats, seeing what he's good at, seeing what it could lead to in the NBA. Enrique Freeman at 50, Tristen Newton at 49. They made 3 picks. As of right now, let's talk about the Pacers roster and what this is all going to look like now that they've made these picks and their team is coming together. And free agency starts on Sunday. Obi Toppin, restricted free agent, they could sign him or Doug McDermott or James Johnson anytime, right? There's still a lot of moving parts, even with these 3 guys in the mix. So, again, right this second, as of me talking, I have to clarify, there's 12 players on the Pacers roster. That 12 includes Kendall Brown and Jalen Smith. Kendall Brown was at the Pacers facilities during the draft. We saw Oscar Tshiebwe there too. So what happens now? If they draft 3 guys and they fill up all the roster spots, there's no room for Obi Toppin. Well, I don't expect 49 and 50 to be on the roster. In fact, Chad Buchanan specifically said a couple things. One, I already noted in a note that it'll be tough for a young guy to come in and play. So probably a development kind of role, even though I expect the standard contract for Furphy. We'll get to that in a second. But then he mentioned 2 ways for the other players. He didn't specifically say for the 49th and 50th pick, to be very clear. But what he did say, I'm trying to find the exact quote, is we've got 3 two-way spots we'll be filling. There's probably a decent chance that we'll have discussions on that with a couple of these guys. So my guess, there's always a line in every draft or most drafts where if you get picked here later, you're probably, not always, but probably going to be on a 2-way, especially when considering a team situation. 49 and 50 are below that line. 36 is probably above it. So my guess right now, guess, if you heard that, the word is guess. My guess right now is 2 of the 3 Pacers 2-ways will go to Enrique Freeman and Tristen Newton, and they'll split time between the Pacers and the Mad Ants, which share resources. That's great. They both play in Cambridge and practice in the same places, so pretty good setup for a G League outlet. And then their third 2-way, we'll see. Maybe it's one of their guys from last year. Maybe it's Mojave King, who they drafted last year. I don't know exactly what they're thinking will be there, but that would be my prediction right now, given what we heard from Buchanan and what the team's path forward is. They were looking for opportunities in the draft, but we're conscious of what they had, which I think makes sense when you think about the 5 seconds for pick 26 trade we talked about yesterday. You know, if you already have a full team that's not as smart, you don't want to break that up. And that's something they mentioned too. So what I expect now is Furphy. What's going to happen there, right? So I would guess, especially because they traded up for him and he went 35, that he's going to get a standard contract. He's going to get a roster spot for the Pacers, barring a trade. And that makes sense to me, right? Usually that's only 4 picks behind when Andrew Nembhard went, who got a standard contract 2 years ago from the Pacers. The Pacers are out of cap space, but that doesn't matter. There's this new thing called the second-round pick exception that allows you to sign second-round picks, your own ones, to a 3 or 4 year deal without using the mid-level exception. I'd have to look into the exact specifics of how they can be structured, but that's certainly possible. Last year, Julian Phillips, I can't remember how this exactly went down. He got picked by the Celtics pick at 35. I believe he ended up with the Bulls. That is correct. He ended up with the Bulls. He was picked 35. He got a 4-year, $8.1 million deal with the Bulls. And the first year started at $1.6 million. That's above his rookie minimum. And then a lot of that's guaranteed. The final season has a team option, but the first 3 years are fully guaranteed. So he got actually $5.7 million guaranteed last year's 35th pick. This is a worse draft, but that is the standard for this, and the cap went up. So who knows? I think the more interesting part will be what's guaranteed, what the options are. But I'm guessing Johnny Furphy will get, given that the Pacers view him as a project, 2 years, 2.5, 3 years guaranteed with a 4th year. 4th year, certainly, I would say, will have a team option just so you can decline it and make him a restricted free agent if you're the Pacers, if he's good. That's almost a certainty, but exactly how that will look is unclear. But my guess is you'll see Johnny Furphy 4-year deal with some interesting guarantee structures on perhaps the last 2 years of that deal. History says that could be coming here. I like the strategy the Pacers went for here with a long-term guy and then 2-way guys that have skills that make sense for them. And we'll see if they ever end up actually playing on the Pacers. I'll be curious about the timing of the trade with the Spurs becoming official. I'll be curious about the exact contract Furphy gets and where the Pacers go from here. But things make sense. And if it goes how I predict, if they now have 13 guys with a roster spot, that does not count for McDermott, Toppin, or Johnson, but that also does not account for whatever they just had to do with Kendall Brown's non-guarantee and Jalen Smith's player option. And in theory, you're listening to this the day it comes out. It is June 28th, and that is the day we find out TJ McConnell's contract is partially guaranteed. Spoiler alert, they're going to guarantee the whole thing. It makes no sense to cut him. So then the only question marks left are about, Kendall Brown's guarantee, which we might not find out until the season starts, and Jalen Smith's player option, which the deadline is Saturday, the 29th. So lots of the influx stuff we'll find out very soon for the Pacers, and the draft part is over. I like the additions they made. I think it makes sense given where they are as a team right now, but the players have to actually be good, and you got to reserve the right to judge the draft based on the results. That's how it goes. But I don't think this would have been far off from my general strategy if I were in charge of the Pacers draft. Again, granted, like I did not have time in years past to actually watch a lot of these players, but from what I've heard from other people who did, they did pretty well. So looking forward to seeing these guys play summer league practices, assuming these guys are all healthy and will be on that team, start in about 10 days. So looking forward to all that. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show and learned something. If I missed something or said something dumb, you can let me know on Twitter at Tony R. East or by commenting down below on YouTube. Tomorrow, we're going to go through the weekend here because there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. So tomorrow we'll talk about whatever happened with McConnell. If we find out on Jalen Smith a day early, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what the draft means for free agency specifically and guys on the team who are winners and losers from this. And look at some other draft day stuff that I think impacts the Pacers, just like we did in the first day of the draft. Really only one this time, or maybe two. And then going into, I'll probably have a guest going into Sunday. We'll see. I'm going to be out of town. Talking about a free agency kind of overview. What did Jalen Smith do? What can the Pacers do? What to expect? And then, of course, whatever happens on free agency day one. Well, boy, oh boy, we'll break all that down. So hope you guys enjoyed today's show and enjoyed the draft. Very fun. The offseason's flying. We're in full swing, baby. So lots of fun stuff coming here on Locked On Pacers. Hope y'all enjoyed. See you very soon.